Ulysses, correct me if I'm not saying your name correctly. Ulysses calling from Florida. You are live on Truth Wanted. What is going on?
Oh, hey, yeah, I'm so glad to be on the show. I've been meaning to call a long time, and I finally gather up the courage to make the call. Well, speaking of the law of attraction, I tried manifesting that my call would be the first call, and it didn't work. So that's that.
I wanted to take your call earlier. It was a good call, but it didn't happen. And you know what? There's some evidence for you that maybe it's not working out, but that's okay. You're here now with us, Ulysses. So.
All right. Okay. So glad. And I started at the beginning of the show when you were talking about God is blank. I would like to fill in the blank by Jim Morrison.
God is Jim Morrison? Okay. That's a take.
That's a take.
Yeah. I guess I like the Doors as much as anybody else. I wouldn't call him God, though. That's, you know.
Well,
but I guess
definitely. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, that's not what you wanted to call in about, right? What did you want to talk to us about?
Okay, about Noah's flood, and I posed this question to the elders because when I'm using a Bluetooth. I'm gonna try and go on the speakerphone because.
Don't go on speakerphone.
Yeah, no speakerphone.
Not a good idea. We do not recommend it. We would rather talk to you this way. We can hear you just fine right now.
Oh, how about now?
Again, we don't recommend the speakerphone option if you can help it. Okay.
Okay. Okay. It's the phone now.
Yeah, that's better. Awesome. Okay, so Noah's flood. You want to talk to us about Noah's flood, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had this question to my elders because, you know, the thing about the animals not eating each other and how is it possible that they can be in the ark for a year?
Right.
And the problem of feeding them
Mm-hmm.
and, again, not eating each other and getting rid of the garbage. Now,
Many
this is solved. This was their answer to me, and I found it enough. So I want to run it by you. Here's how it goes.
Okay.
God, in his immense power, he put the animals in hibernation, so there's no need for food, no need for waste, no need for water or anything. So basically, the animals were 1 year in a state of catharsis or hibernation, whatever. And so at the end, when the ark doors were open, they just woke up.
Okay. Why should we believe that?
Yeah, is that a theory you just came up with, or do you have like something to convince us with for that?
No, well, basically that's the logical end of the thought, because if they're going to be in a confined space for so long and given the problems of feeding and everything else, the logical reasoning would be for them to be asleep throughout the whole thing, just like bears are asleep for like 2 months out of a year or something.
I hear what you're saying, but I think we're looking at this backwards, because we're starting with the premise that, oh, this thing happened. How did this thing happen, though? But we're starting with the premise that we should believe the thing happened is true, and we're figuring out the details. I want to know, why should I believe the thing is true? Why should I even believe that a guy got a bunch of animals on an ark and drifted on water for 40 days in the first place?
Wow. Well, this theory is what was presented to me when I started questioning the whole flood thing, and it made perfect sense. I mean, just everybody asleep, end of the deal.
Okay.
Well, sure, but it's like I mean, is it really the most logical answer? I mean, do you think it's really logical for, like animals to like sleep for that long? Or, I'm failing to like see the logic behind it. Like the fact is that you kind of made up a theory or heard of a theory to explain it away. But I don't think you really stop to think about how logical, or in like our case, illogical that actually is.
Um. Well, I had a rebuttal when the elders told me this. I told them that it's not in the Bible. It just says they were there, and it says nothing about hibernation or none of the sort. And they told me that uh, every little thing cannot be explained in the Bible because it would take like 100 books to explain everything. So God left it kind of to be interpreted.
So then
So,
why would you believe it? Like if it can't be like presented as truth to me, I just don't believe it. So like
right.
if you're given all like these claims about like Noah's flood or like the Tower of Babel or the resurrection, whatever it may be, I just don't believe those things until I have the evidence to believe it. But you are taking the route of like a conspiracy type of route where you are creating stories and conclusions to make the the actual claim itself work. You're adding things in later to make it work before even realizing that this thing just can't work to begin with.
Yeah. So how about this? Let me put it to you this way too, Ulysses, to add on to what Calvin's saying. You kind of said, okay, well, here's the story. How did it work? Well, I think it worked by, all these animals hibernating. How do I think this story worked? Well, I think it didn't work, right? I don't think there's anything to it. I think somebody made it up. Am I being logical or illogical with that? Right? Because if I'm being illogical with that, I want to know, wait, is it actually more reasonable to believe this story is true, or is it not as reasonable? Let's start with that.
Wow. Mm, well, I think this is the last straw. I'm an ex Jehovah's Witness, and I was hanging by a thread, and this was the thread. I'm gonna do some hard thinking, but I think this is it. You guys put a twist in this that it's overturned everything that I had in mind.
Yeah,
Wow.
honestly, like I think we're both like super glad that you called in. You're willing to acknowledge that hey, maybe what I put forth isn't as logical as it sounds. So I'm going to go back and look at some things again. So like I commend you for doing that because that's like that's awesome. Like I'm glad that you're doing that, and I'm just glad that you called in today to just talk about that because I mean that's the only way we can figure out whether these things are true or not. Is just talking about it. So yeah, I commend
Absolutely.
you.
Ulysses, you said something at the very beginning of this. You said, I had to get the courage to call the show. Let me ask you something. What were you afraid of?
Well, I was born into religion, and the stuff really gets into you.
Hmm.
I was up to a few years ago. I was so into it that I couldn't see past the Bible, and everything else was fake. Only the Bible is true, and only my religion is true. And I started because I get the elders and people from the congregation. They are opposed to people watching YouTube and whatnot. And I'm like, well, what's the problem? But if this is the truth, what's the problem with me looking at other things? And just because they said I shouldn't, I did. And I was
Right.
watching the Atheist Experience, and I didn't know a thing about uh, what do you call the tools for interpreting reality?
You mean like science, like philosophy?
Yeah, yeah, like science. Yeah.
Oh my, there's a word. It just vanished.
It's okay.
Epistemology. Okay,
Okay,
epistemology.
sure.
I knew nothing about it. And once I got to the core of it and how it works, and I'm like, wow, maybe there's a whole lot more to the world. And And again, I did the thing that they told me not to do, and it did indeed open my eyes. And there was a couple of things that I was hanging on to that kind of made sense, and I wanted them to make sense. And but all the questions that I had have already been answered. Even though I wasn't able to get into the Eighth Experience show, I wanted to talk to Matt Dillahunty so bad, but I never could. I couldn't get through, or didn't have the courage, because first of all, I was afraid of everything being shattered, because I saw how he dismantled everything.
Right. And Matt's a little scary, you know, and that makes sense. I would see people being afraid to call Matt, you know, but I'll tell you this.
This is a good starter show.
This is a better starter show. And you know what? I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for you that you found the courage, and that does take courage. That is hugely tremendous for you to do that. Reach out of your comfort zone and talk to people that you've been told your whole life you're not supposed to talk to. And you're figuring some stuff out. And you know what? I applaud you for that. You're everything that we could hope for in what we do on this show. Seriously. And I really hope and wish for the best for you. Is there anything else you want to talk to us about right now while you have the opportunity?
Thanks. No, well, religion is so comforting, and I thought I was happy for many, many years. But at this point in my life, I'm getting old, and I really want to know the truth. I mean, even if it hurts, even if there's nothing after this, I just want to live and die with the truth. The Bible says the truth shall set you free, and I believe that is so real. I mean, I want to know the truth, and I want to know, again, citing Matt, as many true things as possible and the least amount of untrue things as possible. So yeah, I've always been kind of a rebel, and so even if it hurts, I just want to know the truth and just die happy, even if there's nothing afterwards.
And you know what, Ulysses? I think if God is just, I think he would recognize that, right? If there is a God, I think he would encourage that. If he really loved and cared about his creation, right? Wouldn't they want what's best for them and to know what's true and what's not true, right? So even if there is a God, I do think that you're doing the right thing here by trying to figure out what's real and what's not. Of course, I don't believe there's a God. And if you were to ask me, I would say, I don't think you should believe in one either. But that's up to you to decide on that, right? And it sounds like you've been doing a lot of hard thinking for yourself. I would love to check back with you sometime. Can you call back again when you can?
Please.
I would love to hear from you,
Oh, sure.
see where you're at in your journey.
I actually saved the number on my phone, and one pivot point, one turning point. About a year ago, I read about Marcus Aurelius when he said, I mean, not verbatim, but sort of the idea is that, like, you should not believe or venerate any gods. Just be just and be the best you can, because if when you die, it turns out that the gods are real and they're just, you're going to be rewarded. And if it turns out that when the gods are bad, there was no point in believing them in the first place. And I was like, oh my God, what? This is like so logical and so like in your face.
Right. It's liberating, isn't it? It's really powerful.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, it sounds like it's really done something for you there. Again, I can't stress enough how happy it is that you called me and could tell me about your experiences. Thank you for that. And I really, truly wish you. The crew is reminding me to let you know of another resource that you may have heard of. It's called Recovering from Religion, and we've partnered with this organization quite a bit. Yeah. Okay, great. So you've heard of them. They've got some great resources on their website if you haven't checked that out already, and also have folks that you can talk to that isn't in a call-in show setting if you need it, as well as lots of reading material if you're into that kind of stuff. For now, I do got to let you go because we got other callers that want to talk to us, but I would, again, love to hear back from you later down the line wherever that is, next week, a month from now, whatever, see where you're at. And you're always welcome to call this show about that. So happy to hear from you.
I will, and this was a good step. I've heard about recovering from religion. I just never bothered to look into it. But yeah, because right now I'm in a road that there's no return from. I mean, half of my family doesn't speak to me. I don't know if you know how Jehovah's Witnesses work.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
I've been estranged from the family. It's horrible. But again, I got to do what I got to do, and I want to know the truth, whatever that leads me, and so be it. I'll call back sometime. I just got to do some hard thinking and rearranging here.
Absolutely, Ulysses. Absolutely. Sure. Thank you so much again for choosing to spend your time with us.